In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to import real-world terrain into Minecraft. That sounds like a cool concept, right? But you have been warned, because this is going to be a little complicated, especially when you first started learning the process. And I would expect you to have some basic knowledge in, well, obviously Minecraft Java, this is how it works, but also GIS, so very basic GIS, okay? So here we begin. So personally, I use Mac OS, and this is what I'm going to do for this demo, but really in reality, either Windows or Mac OS should work perfectly fine. But before we start, let me tell you that here's a list of software that you need to have downloaded beforehand on your computer. Well, Minecraft Java, obviously, but also Google Earth Pro. Notice that this is I'm talking about the desktop version, not where you type in earth.google.com in the browser, okay? The desktop application. This will be used to set your generated world boundary and also reference for the area that you want to generate in Minecraft. So this is very important. Either QGIS or ArcGIS. So I would personally recommend Arc. If you're in the GIS industry and you know that Arc is like a very much more professional application compared to QGIS, but it's also very, very expensive if you're not currently enrolled in a higher education institution or working for a company that provides the service for free. Also, on the other hand, Arc just doesn't work on Mac OS. And this is why I'm going to be using QGIS, because it is free and open source. It's compatible with Mac OS. And finally, World Painter. So this is an application where you edit your world and finally you import it into your Java folder. This is where you do the final editing of the world. So pretty cool stuff. And all the software download links will be provided in the description box below. And I'm not going to go too deep into the basics of how each of the software works. So if you're confused about anything, make sure you look up tutorials on YouTube, because there should be plenty of them. So let's start with the most obvious question. Where in the world would you like to recreate in Minecraft? Maybe you just want to check out a place that you're very, very familiar with in Minecraft, or you would like to build a replica. Either way, technically you can do wherever you want in the world as long as you're okay with the somewhat low accuracy. Because there are other tutorials you can watch that teach you how to get the terrain profile on Google Earth into a height map, or digital elevation model DEM for my fellow GIS enthusiasts out there. That'll work just as fine. And there are also other websites that you can go to acquire data from basically all over the world, but with the somewhat lesser resolution of the DEM. So I'm not sure how that really works for the rest of the countries, but I do want to present a very powerful website, the USGS National Map. And again, all the web links will be provided in the description box below. Okay, here, click launch, select elevation products, and 1 meter DEM. Okay, it has a 1 × 1 meter resolution raster data for basically every corner of the US. So that's pretty cool. However, unfortunately in Minecraft, the height limits are 320 blocks and a negative 64 blocks, and with a combination 384 blocks, like a vertical difference. So that's the vertical height limit that you have, and you don't want the area you want to import to have a larger height difference than that. So for example, you just cannot do some of the largest, like tallest canyons or ski resorts out there, which is a bit unfortunate, so just make sure you keep that in mind. And then search up your desired place. In my demo, in this case, being Little St. James Island in US Virgin Islands. Well, you're a legend if you know that island, but just for the purpose of this demo, okay? Hit search products on the left. It should show you all the available DEM raster data in that area. So find the one that includes your area of interest. Just hover your mouse over that and it'll show you. And then hit download. It should be in GeoTIFF format. And once that's done, just hit save. Save somewhere that you know, okay? Keep that in mind. Next up, we're gonna go to Google Earth Pro. This is where you pinpoint the area that you wanna do and use as the real world reference. So go to your desired place, Little St. James, identify your origin spot, so basically where the coordinate is 0, 0. And go to the ruler tool above in the top panel and draw a line directly to the north, or 0 degrees. So remember in Minecraft, each chunk is 16 × 16 meters. So later on in this process, when we deal with World Painter, the dimension of the imported world should be multiples of 16, and it needs to be a perfect square. In this case, I'm going to do 640 meters from the origin. In other words, the entire square would be 1280 by 1280 meters. So that is a large enough area, and you can do smaller or larger if you wish. So once you're done, hit save after you finish every side of the square. So complete the square using this method. Oh, by the way, when you're doing this, make sure you uncheck the terrain option on the left panel, because this is how we enhance the precision of our measurements. Now we have the square finished, but it's comprised of 4 individual lines. And now go to ruler again, but hit polygon this time, because we've been using the line tool. This time we have to make sure this is an actual enclosed square. So pinpoint all 4 corners of the square we just drew to finish this polygon. And in this point, while you're making a polygon, you can actually manually check if the diagonal line runs directly through our origin point. In this case, it does, so we're all good. So just complete the polygon. And save it. And this time, go to Save Place As. So save it as KMZ file format and save it somewhere that you know. Before we're officially done with Google Earth Pro, take a screenshot of the square's satellite image. Make sure the edges of your screenshot are exactly the square boundary that you just drew, because this is crucial. And later on, we're going to be using this screenshot for real-world reference in World Painter. Okay, I would say now here comes the most challenging part of the process, which is QGIS. And frankly speaking, there is still a lot I need to learn about this software. So I did a lot of work while preparing for this video. Okay, so what you gotta do is create a new project in QGIS, and then we're going to import both, remember both, the extent defining square that we created, we manually draw, as well as the downloaded DEM raster from USGS into the project. Just remember that one is raster and one is vector. So now we have both data sets in our map, and we're going to make sure that the projection system is 3857, the WGS pseudo Mercator one. And the reason we do that is because the Mercator projection is the one that preserves the shape. Okay, we don't want our shape or orientation to be distorted, and Mercator for a relatively small area, it would just be the best option for us. And in the next step, we are going to extract our raster DEM data just to the square that we have. So we're going to select the raster data and then go to the top panel, raster, and then raster extraction, clip raster by extent. Okay, and we're going to select the extent by our vector data, the square that we drew. So we have that, and then just simply click run after that. And now we should have our nicely clipped extent of the DEM data. And what are we noticing here? You see that the raster data is only present when there is an island or something. So, which is telling us then wherever there is water, there is no data. But don't worry about that for now. So for now, create a print layout, because this is the thing that we're going to be exporting as an image so that it'll eventually go to World Painter. So just hanging there. Once you're in a layout page, go to the left panel and then hit add map and just drag your map on the white piece of paper. And now we have that. And we're going to make sure that the layout itself is a square. So change the width value to 220, same as the height. Now go to the Move Item tool on the left panel and see how you can drag and move the extent of our map data. And I would really encourage you to explore the many functions on QGIS on your end as well. But the point is, now what we're going to do is that to make sure that our map fills exactly the print layout, you can keep dragging and moving it, but also hit map 1 on the right and go to item properties and change the scale value on your own. You see, the process might take a while, but I just want to make sure that you don't leave any white strips on the edges at all, because again, it needs to be filled exactly. So once we're done with that, go back to our map editing interface and change the color of our square to black. The reason is that black color in the context of DEM, it means that the lowest elevation value. So in this case, water, the water surface. So even if the terrain that you're trying to import on your own isn't an island, I would still encourage you to do the same, because you just may never know if your data contains areas of no data, like we're seeing in this case. Okay, finally, export your map as PNG and save it. We are really approaching the end, should I say. I'm not going to go too deep in World Painter in this video, given that this is a pretty straightforward software anyway. So if you've been playing Minecraft for a while, it shouldn't be hard. But I do want to guide you through the process so that we export the world accurately. So open a World Painter, create a new project, and import your newly created map in PNG format. Okay, it looks right. But in order to make it accurate, remember the height difference that we had back in QGIS? So it's a good time to check back on that. So we have -1 meters to 42.6 meters. And since in Minecraft, 1 block is basically 1 meter, should be easy of a conversion. So I would just put 0 and 44 as these two values over here. And I would put water level as 1, so which means that the water depth is only 1 meters, but you can always manually change that. For the purpose of the demo, I'm just going to put it as 1. And also remember, our square size is 1280 times 1280 meters. That's the area extent of our square. So plug that in by changing the scale percentage. You're going to have to manually change that. I'm also then plug in -640 for both offsets. And the reason is that if you don't do that, the coordinates 0, 0 is going to appear at the top left corner of the square, which it really has nothing wrong with that, but I personally prefer it to be at the point where we define our origin at the very beginning. But again, it's really your preference. And also remember, when importing from height maps in World Painter, if you're not sure if you have set everything correctly in scaling, so don't click OK yet. At this point, I think we're done now, so just go ahead. And it looks great, right? Last but not least, remember that we took a screenshot of our island in Google Earth. So now go to Configure View, Show Image Overlay, and select your image and do Fit to Dimension. And if you would like to add roads and vegetation to your Minecraft world that is, accurate to the real world, now is time to do that. Plenty of other tutorials out there on YouTube that teach you how to do that. But when you're ready, export the world to your Java folder and you're done. Well, hey guys, look at this. This is Little St. James Island imported into Minecraft. And yeah, to tell you guys the truth, this is Jeffrey Epstein's private island. So if you guys want to explore Jeffrey Epstein's island on your own in Minecraft, or also just go to anywhere that you want, not just in the US, but really in the world, watch my tutorial again and then try to do this on your own. Hope you like this video. If you do enjoy it, give it a like, comment below if you still have questions, and I will see you next time.